Hi everyone. Today we have Tommy on here. I'm so stoked. The last time me and Tommy talked, it was probably one of the best phone calls I've had just being on X in the last 6 months. But for the people who don't know you, Tommy, can you please tell me a little bit about who you are, why you came to X, and then what your main goals are on X?
Yeah, 100%. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for that introduction. It's probably set the bar too high. Right, so I came to X because just out of curiosity, to be fair, we just decided, my business partner and I, with the project that we got going on, to basically build an online presence. And we said, you know what, let's give it a try with all the social media out there, see which one works better, and just focus on that one for the first three months and go from there. So that's how it came about X. And then I discovered a whole new world, this new platform. I actually came to X probably like 2, 3 years ago when the whole COVID crypto thing exploded essentially.
Right.
And that was it. I just wanted to know more about crypto and that environment in general. And I knew that X was a big thing, well, Twitter at the time. So I said, yeah, I just created an account. And then I thought, right, okay, this sounds like 99% scam. So I might just leave it. And then, I just didn't end up pursuing that route. And I just came back now. And I think it's pretty interesting what it can offer. I'm jiggling between LinkedIn and X. The
Okay.
two platforms are really, really different. One is more business and professional based, blah blah blah. Whether X, I see it more as freelancing and less business, less B2B. It's more like BTC, I guess,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. So it's quite cool also to see how people approach the two different platforms. One is very fast paced, the other one is a bit more slowed down and just different approach. But yeah, other than that, I'm Italian. I moved to the UK 5 years ago. I'm a mechanical engineer, but I don't work in engineering anymore. I do completely different stuff. I'm a business consultant now, more like on the tech side. So it's funny to see how people, because I've been talking to so many people on X, and everyone seems to have cool stories that start at one point and then they end up in a completely different scenario. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, that's me.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I'm actually there's two things I got off of that. One, we're gonna talk about LinkedIn a little bit later today, but
Yeah.
two, you mentioned that everyone who starts on X is like started somewhere completely different and now is like in some completely different world. And so what is your thoughts on people starting in like say they want to become a copywriter and that's where they start? What is your thoughts on like people worrying too much about where they start?
I think that's crazy because if you think about it, you, what you should play is the long term game, right? So in 5, 10 years down the line, who cares what you started? And actually, at the beginning, I would rather encourage people to try different things and see what works best for them. Because obviously, we're all different, right? We all have different backgrounds, experiences, skill sets, interests. So just give it a try. That's actually what I've done. The whole May, I've spent, yeah, pretty much the whole month trying out different things on X, different topics, different way of writing. And I'm not going to say that I figured it out now, but I definitely learned a lot by just trying and failing. And who cares? Like people won't remember. I'm not Elon Musk. So, and even Elon Musk, no one knows what he's done a year ago. So
Right.
what's the point, right? So give it a try, put yourself out there, which is the most important thing, and then see what you like and what you enjoy. Because at the end of the day, that's the important thing, and it's the only way to keep going.
Yeah,
100%.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that. And I think that's like the biggest thing. Like when I started on X, I came in and I was strictly an email copywriter. And then I was
Yeah.
like, oh, podcasting. Oh, ghostwriting. Oh, this. And I was like, oh man, there's so many like cool things you can do. You don't have to start and stick with one. So I love
Yeah.
that concept of just play the long term game. You know, I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
I talked about it on my space the other day too, which was a lot of fun. So we'll have to do a space one day as well. Stay
Yes.
tuned.
Yes. I've never done one. I've never done one.
It was
I'm
my first
curious, but
one.
oh, right.
Yeah, it was fun.
How did that go?
It was actually way better than I planned. There was
Wow.
something like 15 or 20 people in there and we were all chatting and
Oh,
I gained quite a few followers and like DMs from it. Some really cool people. So I was like, "Oh, this is way better than posting every day."
interesting. Yeah,
Yeah,
interesting. Was it random or was it
super
structured? Like the
super
topic?
random. I my
Wow.
friend messaged me at 11:05 and was like, "Do you want to do a space today?" And I was like, "Okay, sure. I have a podcast in a couple hours, so I have to do that." And so we launched it, and I was like, "What do you want to talk about?" And she was like, "I have no idea." So we kind of just started talking about how
Nice.
our account got banned, and then this, and then that, and it was like, "Oh, this is actually
Right.
super easy." So yeah, it was a lot of fun. But we'll have to do one of these
Interesting.
days. Yeah,
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
just got to keep experimenting. So, and as you're experimenting, LinkedIn, when did you start LinkedIn the same time as you started X?
No, no. I actually started LinkedIn when I started working after
Okay.
uni.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was a few years ago. But again, like I guess 99% of the people that join LinkedIn is just to search for a job, I guess. But which is stupid because LinkedIn is like your online CV. That's the way I see it. So if you put yourself out there, and we can talk about why CVs don't work anymore and all that kind of stuff. But in my opinion, you've got LinkedIn is a platform to showcase your skills, showcase your interests, your networking skills, like anything, right? So why not using it? But 99% of the people, they're passive. Like on X, because if you look at the stats, I think there's only a few dozens of millions of active users on X, but
Mhm.
then 600 plus subscribers. So yeah, it's definitely not exploited that much. And LinkedIn is the same. But the great thing about LinkedIn is unless you activate your, I think it's called creator profile or something. So the way the connection works, it's just like a two-way connection. So it's like Facebook essentially. So you ask to be friend or connected to someone. So it's a lot faster to grow, in my opinion, compared to X. Because on X, just people follow you, um, but on LinkedIn, you don't have to post as much, and you can still grow a following. So it's definitely different than X, and I would highly recommend everyone to explore that world as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's huge. So let's hop into that. Why do you think CVs are dead? Go
Well, because
ahead.
everyone I spoke to, and I've seen it myself in the past 10 years, sending a CV now, especially if you use LinkedIn, you can see how many people applied for that job. And a simple, like normal, even entry level roles, they get hundreds of applications. And unfortunately, people on the other side, they don't have that much time to go through every CV. So they just do either keyword matching, or which is funny because some time ago I received an email saying, "Oh, the our program like retrieve your CV because of some keywords and stuff." It was literally written in the email that they found my profile, my CV, because of some keywords that I put in. And yeah, it's quite funny because you've got some hacks that you can do. You can have a section called skills, and you put all the keywords in that section, and you can tweak that section for every application, and it works really well. So, but again, then what's the point? I mean, you're just faking it, kind of, the way I see it. But going back to your question, building relationship, in my opinion, is much more important than just spamming CDs everywhere. And that's why they don't work, because you can literally apply for months and months. And I've had friends going back to me and be like, "Oh, I've sent so many CVs, so many job applications during the last months, but no one came back to me," and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, right, okay, okay, you tried that. Why don't you try and message job recruiters on LinkedIn, on different platforms? Just get yourself out there. Make sure that you message them, ask stuff, whatever, but just at least they know. And if at some point you're not applying for a job, they might remember your name. They might. At least you got a higher chance.
Right.
So yeah, it's just too easy nowadays to apply for a job. So
Oh yeah.
everyone does it, and everyone applies to hundreds of jobs a day. So
Yeah, absolutely. And so kind of bouncing off of the relationships part of that is excuse me, is that going so you're launching your agency.
yes.
Are you mainly doing that relationship based through your LinkedIn and through your Twitter, or how is the launch looked like for you?
So the launch will be another way for me to try things out. So I'm going to experience different things throughout the process. And the way I'm launching it, obviously, one way is just tweet about it or post on LinkedIn and or add the link to the website everywhere, like bios and stuff. But another way is just reaching out to people that are within your network, so either on X or LinkedIn, based on essentially what you're doing, right? So if you've got people in your network within that niche that you're trying to target, just do some outreach, which is, I guess, kind of cold outreach, but hopefully they somewhat know you, or at least they remember your name. So it's not 100% cold outreach, in my opinion. And then just put some ads out there and try to get some leads from there. So there's actually this guy that I encourage everyone to Google his name. It's called Daniel Priestley. He's the lead gen guru. Honestly, he's that guy's amazing, and he's got this assessment score questionnaire app. It's a SaaS product that you can sign up to. I guess there's a free version as well if you want to try a few things. And from there, what you're doing essentially is creating leads, but at the same time collecting data about your leads, about their problem, about what they would like to see in your product. And it's actually quite easy because the way you can build this thing is you can build it before actually having a product. So with
Okay.
in that way, you can do some like pretty good research, and then you end up tweaking your product. So
Hmm.
you first ask the questions, gather the data, check out whatever you have to tweak, and then you go live with your product. So that's essentially what I'm going to do.
Yeah, that is
The
awesome.
agency is there and the idea is there. I just need to tweak the tiny little details.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, what is your agency going to offer and who are you targeting?
So I'm targeting the motorsport industry, automotive and motorsport industry. And it's going to be about newsletters. So I've noticed that it's not very big in that space. Lots of companies uses newsletters in different ways, but mostly it's big companies and they're targeting customers essentially. There's not that much going on in the B2B space and in the mid tier size businesses. So those are the people I'm going to target. And yeah, like I said, motorsport industry and mostly B2B.
Hmm. Huge.
In my
And
opinion, something you have to go B2B, but that's just my opinion.
no, I completely agree with the B2B because consumers, it's the idea of magnitude versus scale. And it's like, would you rather sell something for $5 to 50,000 people, or would you rather sell something for $10,000 to 10?
Yeah,
Like,
it in my opinion, it's definitely harder, especially at the beginning,
mm,
because you probably don't have the skills to
right.
sell to that big of an audience. So, and it's much easier to focus just on one person
Hmm.
because you can literally allocate all your time, like 100% of your time, to that customer. That's it, and that's all you need to learn at the beginning. So it's definitely worth it that way. Plus, businesses, they've got different budgets, and a much higher ticket also helps you with, I don't know if you need to hire someone just for help, like a freelance doing a tiny bit of your solution, or running the ad, or like paying for your website, whatever you're trying to do. It's just much easier if it's a high ticket. So
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with that. And so regarding the skill issue, on your pinned post, it is you've
yeah,
scaled 6 newsletters. How did you learn to scale newsletters, and what are you currently taking in steps to learn more skills?
yeah. So the amazing thing about most of the stuff that we can do nowadays online is that you can do it yourself.
Yep.
So whatever people are trying to learn, they first have to do it themselves. So there's an amazing thing that people can Google. It's called learning pyramid, and it just shows it's based on a study. They can also look up the study, but essentially it's showing visually how we learn. And I think the first and the worst um, way that we learn is like lecture, and it's like you retain 5% from a lecture. But then when you teach someone, you go up to 90%. And in between, there's learning by doing, which is like 60% or something. So clearly, there's a massive benefit. So when you get started, definitely just give it a try, see what works, what not. Once you understood roughly how things work, then I would go out and trying to research who's the best in that environment, in that niche, right? So you get three names and you start following their content, learn from them. Whatever they say to do, you do it. If they say send three newsletters a month, try it. Copy them 100%. Once you've done that, once you've learned from them, and if you manage to somehow match their result, then try to add more of your stuff. And that's, I guess, it's the answer to your second question. How do you go from there, right?
Mhm.
That way, I think you need to stack skills on top of each other, because obviously newsletter is not just writing an email. So you might write a copy for an ad, you might learn a platform, um, partnerships, sponsorships, how do you reach out to clients for sponsors, all that sort of stuff. And then obviously platforms, they just evolve. So you need to keep track with what's going on in the market. In 20, what was it, 2021, I believe? Yes, I think so. Beehive, the famous now newsletter email service provider, just went live. And that was a huge change in what was email newsletters back then.
Mhm.
So, these things, they come and go. So you need to keep learning. Absolutely, 100%. You need to keep researching. I've got half an hour every week, a slot booked where I just Google stuff and search for new ways of approaching the same problem.
Yeah, that's another thing. So there's two things I got from that. Blocking. How do you go
Hmm.
about time blocking? I know you have a day job. You also are launching
Yeah.
this. You're also writing for all these platforms. So what does your day to day time blocking look like, and when do you schedule it?
So it's Sunday evening. It's pretty much when I do all the thing, which I've got a section blocked in my calendar to do that. Yeah. So it's actually quite easy the way I approach this. Well, I guess it's funny because I had a conversation today with a friend of mine about goal settings and time blocking and everything. Obviously, the time blocking has to come from some goals that you set.
Right.
So let's assume you've set some goals and you went all the way down into settings your tasks, your weekly tasks in order to get to that goal, right? Once you've done that, you just have to book that time in your calendar, right? So let's say you have to every day um, write tweets for X, right? Okay. Let's say you're starting out, you have no idea how long that's gonna take you. Just book a lot of time for the first week every day. Why don't you book an hour and a half every day around your normal schedule, like around gym, work, and all that stuff? And then at the end of the week, you just have a review session and you tweak what happens. So I I write down tasks every night, and then based on that task, the next day I book some time when I know that I've got that time available. So I do like three different types of tasks. I've got quick tasks, tasks that can take 5 minutes or less. Then I've got medium tasks, which I call tasks. And these are tasks that will take from 5 to 30 minutes to do. And then I've got projects, and those will take like an hour and a half.
Right.
So let's say I want to um, reply to an email. I know it's important. That's going to be usually a quick task. So it's going to be like 5 minutes or less. Let's say in that email, I need to gather some documents, do some tiny little research and stuff. That's going to be a task because I know it's going to take more than 5 minutes. And then I just booked the time in my calendar. And that's how I go about it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun.
It's very simple. It's very simple. It's nothing complicated.
Well, I think the complicated part is actually sticking to it, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's what
agree.
I've
Yeah.
found with the tight schedule, especially with the spontaneous events that happen in life. Yeah, it was difficult for some time, but I've started leaving myself some more room in between certain blocks. Otherwise, I just
Yeah.
don't do it.
Yes.
Yes.
None of that. It's true. It's true. And people also, that's why, in my opinion, it's really important that people at the end of the week, they book some time to review everything that happened,
Mm,
because there's so much that you can learn from, let's say, a 90 minutes gym session. If you only book those 90 minutes, it's not going to work because you have to go to the gym, come back from the gym, shower, get changed. They got some times around that task.
Mm.
So a 90 minutes gym session might end up being 120 minutes gym session. So 2 hours gym session or 2.5 hours gym session if you have to commute 15, 20 minutes to get to the gym.
Mhm.
So that's why the review session at the end of the week is really important to figure out for you how long it will take for you to get from one task to the other. 40 minutes of writing might be okay, but maybe then you need 20 minutes to recover like your brain because you're brain dead before doing another task. So you need to take that into account.
Yeah.
So that 40 minutes writing session becomes a 1 hour writing session.
Mhm.
So
Totally.
that's how I go about it. Yeah.
Yeah. I will have to start doing that more often. It's been bad lately.
It's all right. We all listen. The past months have not been great, but I know that it's fine. I'll get back into it. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, it's
And
up and
so,
down, up and down.
and such is life, I guess, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
True.
I really want to hop into what you think the fundamentals of business are on X. I think that's a fun
On
topic.
X,
On X, LinkedIn,
specifically on X.
on X,
All right.
LinkedIn,
Okay.
just in general, because I feel like there's definitely universal principles and then
Yeah.
there's different principles for certain things. But let's start universal first and then we'll dive farther
Yeah.
into it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, in my opinion, the way I see business and the way I try to define business is simply a company, business, call it whatever you want, that provides a service in exchange for money.
Hmm.
That's it. That's this simplest form. Which means if you unpack that phrase, well, the service will be either actually a service or a product. It can be a physical product, digital product. But it has to be something, and that has to be exchanged for money.
Hmm.
So, from the customer point of view, that exchange has to be seen as equal or at least, hopefully, a deal from the customer side. Because usually, especially when you compare things, you tend to compare the value of those things and you go for the better deal. Let's say you're trying to buy a car, you go and to the, I don't know, Chrysler dealership and you go to three, four different ones and you're like, oh, okay, that guy is actually doing a better deal. So I'm going to buy it from him. So, especially when you're selling things that are comparable, in my opinion, you have to figure out how to make either your offer different or you have to provide more value than the others. And that's how that difference, that gap in value will be more advantageous for you.
Hmm.
So that's the business, in
Yeah,
my opinion. And apply to X is the same.
it is the
It's not
same.
that big of a difference.
Let's
Yeah.
add one more factor into it though. On X, there is over, I'm not even going to say number. There's too many growth coaches or branding
Yes.
coaches.
Yes.
So, on top of that, some of them charge absurd amounts of money even though they're brand new and don't have, I won't say results because their account is big, but they don't have
Mhm.
repeatable results. And so with that, would you say likability is big on X? And how would you insert that likability, trust, and differentiation into business, especially
Yeah.
now?
Yes. Yes. I get your point. And on X, that's definitely a big thing. Um, that, in my opinion, that comes to branding. So it is the same that applies also to big companies. So there are big companies that have a very powerful brand. So even if they don't provide some kind of value, they can get away with it
Hmm.
to some extent,
Right.
right? So up to, I'd say maybe 10 years ago, Ferrari, the car manufacturer, used to sell cars with a ton of problems,
Yes.
right? But they can still get away with it because it's Ferrari. It's that, the brand is so powerful, and if I'm not mistaken, is used to be the most powerful brand in the world
Hmm.
with Rolex and all those big names, and that shows you how powerful is the brand, right? So on X, in my opinion, is the same. So some people manage to build a very likable brand persona that people can relate to, easy to talk to, and all that kind of stuff. And that allows them to get away with not providing the results that people are expecting. And especially in the X growth, from what I've seen, the growth is mostly driven by three factors. One is engagement, the other one is DM,
Hmm.
and the third one is by posting wins. So if you do that, and if you do it for 6 hours a day, even if your content is not the best, but you're kind of copying what other people are doing, you can have like a pretty decent growth. But then again, if your client is not willing to put that kind of effort, because that's what these people don't tell you, well, they don't get the result they're expecting,
Hmm.
right? So
Absolutely.
that's a bit it. And but listen, like if people want to pursue that route, it's fine. I don't think the audience size matters that much
Right.
because you can have 1,000 followers, but be able to sign up clients like crazy simply because you're running ads.
Hmm.
And if you do the math properly, you can still get clients, paid clients, so it's paid acquisition, but it's still worth it. So I
Hmm.
don't see what's wrong with that. People want to build massive audiences and have inbound leads, which is really really rare, especially with 1,000 followers or even 10,000 followers,
Yeah.
right? So why just focusing on that? I think it's crazy.
Yeah, I think it's crazy as well, and I think that comes down to like the skill issue. People resort to the easy because I could become a growth coach tomorrow if I really felt
Yes,
like it.
yeah.
But the big difference is having an actual skill. And like, I love your account. You don't have a lot of followers. That doesn't matter to me. But like, tangible things. Like, I can
Hmm.
ask you a question about newsletters, and you can go, "Well, here's my thoughts on it." Cool, because you've studied it, you've done it, you've researched it,
Thanks.
and you are able to share it and teach it. And God forbid if you're wrong. Oh well, we're all wrong eventually. Like,
Oh yeah. Oh, 100%, 100%. And I'm sure that among all the tweets I put out there, some will be insanely wrong, and I'll be probably the first to tell you, right, that's what I thought worked 3 months ago. But actually, I just found out it doesn't. So because I thought they worked because of this and this reason. Obviously, when something provides result, it's not just that one thing.
hmm
It's just like a mix of things, so it's really hard to isolate that one thing that produced the entire result, right?
hmm
So it's fine, it's fine, people can be wrong all the time and it's okay. you know
no, and I do think it's okay. I also think it's something people should aim for. Aim to be wrong, because then if you know you're wrong, it means you found out some way to be right. It means
yes,
you actually tested it and tried
absolutely,
it.
absolutely, yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah. the
So
the X growth thing is, I feel like eventually that's going to die.
oh yeah.
It's going to die.
Yeah. And I think it's unfortunately we're getting kind of into conspiracy or like guessing
Yeah.
stuff here, but I unfortunately think like these brands that have built specifically on top of just coaching are going
Mhm.
to crash and burn like no other, unfortunately.
I think they're going to tweak their own business model and get out of the X growth and go to something that is similar. And I've seen that happen actually today. So I can't mention name and anything because it's fine. I don't care. And I'm not even 100% sure that this is what happened. But from what I've seen, that specific person slightly, now that they got to a certain level, they slightly tweaked their profile to get out of that and
Mm.
into something similar. So I think that's what's going to happen. But again, many people, in my opinion, they don't understand that the X growth thing is not actually a thing and that everyone can do it,
Yep.
right? It might be hard finding the customers at the end of the day simply because there's so much demand. Sorry, the other way. There's so many people doing
Yep.
it.
Okay.
So that's why maybe some people struggle to find customers as an X growth
Yeah.
coach. But yeah, there's not. Yeah,
Ah.
let's leave that.
Well, leave that there. Anyways,
Yeah.
hopping kind of into pivoting and going to like skills and creators or
Mhm.
freelancers, or if you're on LinkedIn wanting to
Yeah.
learn skills, what are some resources or let's say time blocks that you would recommend for people learning and trying to figure things out?
Right. When you say time blocks, what? Sorry, what do you mean by that?
As in, you mentioned writing for 40 minutes a day. Cool. Or
Oh,
is it
okay.
studying a newsletter for 10 minutes a day? Like things like that. What would you
Yeah,
recommend for someone trying to start from ground zero?
yeah, yeah. That's fine. That's fine. So, let's say someone would like to learn how to run newsletters.
Okay.
Let's pick that example. Okay. So, the core of everything in my opinion, is writing. So the first thing that people need to do is they have to learn how to write, which is amazing because writing is not like speaking. So even someone like myself, who's not a native English speaker, can get somewhat good at it with some practice,
Mhm.
right? Because you've got all the time in the world. So the fact that I don't speak English is just, it's going to take me longer to produce a piece of content, but I can still produce that piece of content. So I don't think people should be discouraged by that, because I've been in the past for a long time, and that's what put me off for years and years and years. That was massive regret of mine. So I hope that this will help at least someone that listen to this. So the easiest way to do it, in my opinion, is to go out there, LinkedIn, X, Quora, Medium, whatever, and start writing. And then from there, look at the stats,
Mhm.
look at what worked, look at what didn't. Have Try to research into what worked for other people, try to copy what they've done, see if that worked for you as well. Try to learn that way. Once you practice for a month, 2 or 3, you got the basics of it, then you can get into learning the next level skills. Because anything, any business is just a stack of skills.
Mhm.
Like podcasting is the same.
Yeah.
You have to learn video editing, how to use the tools, uploading stuff, talking, preparing like the questions, researching into the person that you're going to interview, like all that sort of stuff. That's all different skills that you stack up. And that's the same with newsletters, and that's the same with um, other types of businesses. So you start from the most basic one, and then you get, once you think you're good enough, you go to the next level,
Mhm.
and you'll figure it out when you're good enough, because you'll see the results.
Mhm.
So that's when you get to the next level. So people need to write down a list of 10 skills. They can even research that. Like if you search for um, management consultant skills, Google will give you a list like 10, 20 skills. Write them down. Maybe write down next to it which one you think you might have, because I don't know, you learned it from uni or from your actual job or online trying something, and then pick on the most important one that you don't have and go for it, that one, and book 2 3 hours a day
Yeah.
trying that. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. No, that's I best way to do it. It's super simple and something I've noticed. I recently launched a giveaway, and something I've noticed is everyone wants like the end all be all advice, and there is none. It's just you got to sit down and do it a little bit, and then it suddenly everything magically appears. It seems.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So kind of hopping in. If there was one question I would have asked you, what would it have been, and how would you have answered it?
Oh, interesting. um oh, I think a nice question would be, what type of business do you think people should get into?
Okay.
And my answer would be anything, literally, because I'm not seeing, apart from maybe, I don't know, maybe Jeff Bezos. Probably that was, Amazon was his first business.
Well, it started off as a
Maybe,
bookstore.
there you go. So yes, exactly. So
Mhm.
yes, there's an argument that it still changed. So the point I'm trying to make is, whatever is it that you're trying to do now, it's not going to be what you're going to do in 10 years,
Yep.
because it's going to evolve. So pick one thing, stick to it for 2 3 years, and then trust me, it's going to work out. For sure, for sure.
Absolutely.
Because I'm sure that people have an example in their life where it can be school, sport, a job, a business, something that they tried for a longer period of time than normal. Usually people, and myself included, they hop from one thing to another,
Yep.
and that's why they fail.
Yep.
That's the only reason why they fail, because I've tried stuff in the past that failed, but it's not that the thing failed. I failed
Yep.
because I went on the next thing. So because I've seen people being successful with that thing. So if you try for a long period of time, you're going to be successful. It doesn't mean you're going to achieve the same level of success. If you try to build an online bookstore, you might not become Amazon, but you can still do it, you
Yeah.
know? So whatever people like, give, I would highly recommend to give it a try.
Yeah, absolutely. And I completely love that. And so as we kind of wrap this up, we have about 15 minutes or so left.
Hmm.
I do really want to talk more about your agency.
Yeah,
I think that's so much fun. I know it's something new. I know you have a 9 to 5. But you also mentioned a business partner. And so
yeah.
I know you have one person on a free trial. What has that looked like for you in regards to, like, have you hit any roadblocks trying to learn something or anything along those lines?
Well, yeah, definitely, because when you interact with someone else and you've never done that properly in the past,
Yeah.
that is a massive difference, right? So even just learning those simple things, whether it's organizing meetings or having to interact with someone else, always brings up challenges if you're not used to it. So the main challenge that I'm having now is because I've got a job, a 9 to 5. Now is trying to organize everything around my 9 to 5. That is the biggest challenge that I'm facing at the moment. And scaling that agency with just a limited amount of time, that's
Yeah.
the thing. So, but it's fine. It's fine. Everything is a learning curve, and I embrace it. And I'm super happy that I'm doing it, because even if 2 years, 3 years down the line, I'm like, you know what? I don't think that's for me. I would have learned so much, and I can transfer those skills to something else.
Yeah.
So my goal is actually not just to not work. My goal is to be able to work, but just from whatever I want in the world with my laptop. That is the goal, because at least I can see my family whenever I want, see my friends, and work from there, because I just live in a different country.
Mhm.
So that is the main goal. And going back to your question, people feel like will have so many challenges on a daily basis, and it's just a matter of trying to find a solution.
Mhm.
it, uh, I know it sounds simplistic as an answer, but that's all it is. So it doesn't matter how you find the solution. You can ask someone, you can DM someone, you can Google it. As long as you find the solution, then it's fine.
Mhm.
People don't care, like your customers don't care.
No, 100%.
So all they want is the solution,
Yep.
is to find an answer that they can't find for themselves. Or maybe they don't have the time. So that's why they're paying you, right? So whatever problem you're facing, just talk to people. Hey, how did you do that? Or I'm, I'm got this problem. How would you go about it? Like that sort of stuff.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's pretty much my advice for people.
Yeah, and I think that's huge. I recently posted about I won't swear, but I said screw cold DMs. I approached a
Uh huh.
business person in person,
Yeah.
like on a whim. I heard her talking
Wow.
about sales, and I'm like, okay, I don't know anything about this, but we're gonna pitch it. And so I sent over samples, and she just replied this morning. She's like, "Yo, these are awesome." Blah blah blah. And I'm like, "Cool. Those are the first samples I've ever made in my entire life. I've never made
See,
samples." And so it's like when people are like, "Oh, well, you have all these skills," and I'm like, "No, I don't. I don't have any skills. I'm learning. We all are."
always, always. Even the most successful entrepreneurs and people, they're all learning constantly, and they're all trying new things. And that's what, especially us starting out, that's what we have to do,
Mhm.
because that's the only way you can learn something. And then honestly, sometimes I've talked to people that I thought they were expert in their field,
Mhm.
but then I realized that it's it's a gray area.
It
I
is.
was expecting more, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Like, okay, like I thought you were the top dog. That doesn't sound like it. So it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
See, you did an amazing job approaching that person, just for being brave enough to approach that person. I think that's a massive win. That's
Mhm.
the biggest win.
Yeah.
Because in the past, I've struggled so much with that. I don't know why. We're
It's
just trying
terrifying.
to be, yeah, and I was trying to be perfect at the same time, which is such a stupid concept. Perfect doesn't exist.
Nope.
You can try and spend 10 years being perfect and you won't. So
Yeah.
just give it a try.
Yeah. And funny story regarding being perfect. When I did approach her, I knew nothing about the software either that they were using because it's a restaurant. And so when I had approached her, she's like, "Do you know anything about Toast?" Now I know that Toast is an operating and POS system. When she had mentioned it, I was like, "The bread? Like
But
the cooked bread?" I was like, "I don't know. I Google might be able to solve that." And she's like, "No, like that's our operating system." And I was like, "That is so embarrassing." But
yeah,
like it
yeah,
shows
no, I
that
get it. I get it.
it's
Yeah.
okay.
It's fine. It's fine. Listen, even like I said, even expert, I think they find themselves sometimes talking to people that maybe come up with some very niche thing and they
Mhm.
have no idea what they're talking about. So if it happens to them, then it can happen to anyone. And it's better if you ask the question, "Oh, what's toast? Like, what's that?"
Yeah.
At least you learn something. And
Yeah.
next time, that's fine. Then you won't lose a client because you don't know what toast is.
Well, no, and
So
Google knows the answer at the end of the day.
exactly, Google is your best friend.
Oh, it
So
is your best friend. And I think it's funny. I was listening to a podcast as well the other day, and I'd found that I was like the 1% that had actually reached out and DM'd them. And so you saying like, "Oh,
oh
just Google, like look up, ask someone." No one does that. So if anyone is listening to this, just reach out to someone. You are going to be
yeah,
the 1%. Like you are going to be the 1% of someone who actually like does something with anything that you're learning.
yeah, no, absolutely. Like that's such a great thing that you when you're deep into it because Ali Abdal, you know who he is?
I love Ali Abdal.
It's, yeah, there you go. Like, yeah, I think he's great. And he was saying that I think he's newsletter operator is the young guy that, or maybe he's like project manager or something in his agency. But yeah, this person reached out to him and was like, "Oh, do you want me to do this for you?" And it was, "Yes, I really need help in that aspect of my agency." And that's how he got the job. And Ali said that that person was the only one reached out to him and asking, "Oh, can I do this for you?" So that's crazy, because you would think that a person with 4 million plus subscribers on YouTube probably receives hundreds of emails about
Right.
that,
Yeah.
right? Well, it's actually not the case. So I think it's worth the shot
Yeah.
because email is free, a message is free. So people, yeah, should do it more. And that's something also for myself because
Oh
I should
yeah.
do it more too.
And I am also like I give so much preach on that, and I'm like, no, I also need to do it. I'm not the saint in anything that I say. Like I need to take my own advice. But
Yeah, yeah, it's the same. But you know what? So many times I write tweets for myself,
mhm,
stuff that it's some of them are literally reminder for myself. Do this, do that, blah blah. Do it this way, because obviously life is busy. So not all the time we have 2 hours of deep learning session to do something the right way.
yeah,
So we might do it not the perfect way. So that's why we need those reminders for ourselves to do it the right way.
absolutely.
Send that email, DM, whatever that is. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I love that. Honestly, love it.
I love that. I think the writing to yourself thing is so skewed where everyone's like, treat it like a journal. And I'm like, no, I treat it to like slap myself in the face and tell me to do things the right way.
Yeah, yeah, of course. I am, and I think I tweeted about this. I'm my worst critic.
Oh yeah.
So like I have to, because otherwise, how can I get better?
Mhm. Well, it
I'm
comes
not
down
gonna
to
listen. Let's be honest. I'm not gonna listen to someone online who's gonna critique me, right? So
right.
I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. So at some point, I might listen to other people. Not wait, because that came out wrong. So I'm open for feedback, 100%. But if you tweet like some random stuff just for the sake of, you know, saying something, then I'm not gonna listen to you.
100%. 100%. I think that's huge. And it also comes down to being your biggest critic, but also like being your biggest believer too. That's been my
Yeah.
downfall is like I'm so hard on myself, but I also don't believe in myself. And so it just does not
Mm.
match right because I'll be like, oh, you're doing this, that, this wrong. And then you look at it and you're like, wait, no, like you've done all of these good things. It's okay, but still do better.
I can relate so much to what you just said, honestly, because I'm very much the same, which is quite interesting because I was listening to a very mm, successful guy, and he was saying the most successful people they have they've got basically three main beliefs. One is they think they're better than everyone else. Two, they think they they need to prove to others that they're worth what they say.
Mhm.
And then the third one, they've got massive, like almost psychological insecurity about themselves,
Yep.
which is quite fun. I'm not at that level, but I'm very insecure in so many ways. And sometimes I question myself. I'm like, oh, I'm never gonna do that because who like
Yeah.
I can't do this, or I don't think I'm able to do it. But then I'm like, oh no, you have to do it. You have to. What are you talking about? Just give it a try. And there's that conundrum. It's funny. It's funny.
It is really funny, and I think I've heard the same thing as well. And the belief system of successful people is psychopathic, but also super contradicting.
Yes. Yes.
Which is
Yeah.
fun, which is
Yeah.
oddly enough is fun.
But I guess it to some extent is true because I've never seen, let's say, an athlete being normal,
Oh
a
yeah.
top level athlete. You can't be a normal person.
Hmm.
You need to have some kind of abnormal stuff that happen in your life or the way you think about something. Because I've been an athlete in the past, and you have to put your body. That's why I destroy my body uh, through so much pain and so much stuff, but you still have to keep going because otherwise you're not going to make it. So, and business is the same. I see business as sport. It's a competition. At the end of the day, it's a competition.
Hmm.
So you just need to be better than other people.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great way to end the podcast.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That
That's
was
good.
amazing.
Good for
Yes.
me. No, thank you so much. I loved it.
Yeah, thank
Amazing.
you. This was
Thanks so
fun.
much.
I'm happy that we finally got to hop on and do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.